Hello everyone, Known Consequence here with episode 24 of my remastered original Dungeons & Dragons Adventure Module playthrough series, the campaign from which is now in its 12th year. And here is the current roster of player characters. We have 6 characters being run by 4 different players. And here is the roster of both human and animal NPCs associated with the party. However, all of the riding animals are still missing, having been captured by the temple forces. Where we left off last time, the characters, and Varys in particular, had accidentally freed the demon queen Loth from her imprisonment in the Temple of Elemental Evil. She thanked the characters and said she would reward them by not killing them before disappearing into the darkness. Back at the inn, the characters debated over if they should tell anyone what had happened. Ultimately, they decided to keep quiet about it. Varys was particularly nervous over the day's events, considering that it was his desire to take the gold pillar that led to Loth being freed. Next day, the characters returned to Dungeon Level 3. They soon discovered a new room, one with a dirt floor and fungi growing everywhere. Inside, they encountered a creature which turned out to be a Lamia. The monster tried to use its charm ability on Aramis, but he made a saving throw. Obrak and Niobe then both scored critical hits against it. The characters were quickly able to encircle the monster, and it was soon defeated. Further exploring the room, the characters discovered a door in the back corner. However, they found that it only led to a flight of stairs leading back up to Dungeon Level 2. The characters now believed that they had found everything of importance on Level 3, and that they were ready to descend to Level 4. But first they decided to go back to Hamlet and ask Elmo if he would help them. The characters knew by now that Elmo was a skilled fighter and an agent for the forces of good. His act of behaving like a foolish drunkard at the inn was merely a disguise to fool any temple spies in the village. So the characters explained to Elmo that the culmination of their efforts against the temple appeared to be close at hand. They believed that the final battle was fast approaching, and they asked Elmo to return to the temple and help them. Elmo agreed that it was time to drop his disguise and openly stand with the characters against the temple. Turjan, the priest of the St. Cuthbert Church, was also present at this meeting. The characters showed him the golden skull and the elemental gems to seek his advice on what to do with them. Turjan told the characters that the skull is the symbol of the demonic demigod Ius, and that it is an artifact of great evil. He warned the characters that Ius would undoubtedly try to take the skull from them if he learns they have it. Turjan said that the characters should instead seek to destroy the thing before Ius could recover it. He believed that the means of doing so would be found in the deepest regions of the temple, but that was the limit of the advice he could offer. So the skull and gems were turned over to Thorol for safekeeping. It was also during this interlude that I told the players their characters had all advanced to 6th level. That news helped to improve their confidence a bit. I should also mention once again that you will soon be seeing details that do not match the module as written. For a full explanation of the changes I made and why I made them, you can check out my remastered How to DM the Temple of Elemental Evil video. Next day, the characters returned to Dungeon Level 3 and to the natural cavern space they had discovered a couple of days before. You will recall that there was another hallway leading from the cavern, but at the time the characters had decided not to follow it. All of the characters descended into the cavern pit and prepared to climb up into the new passageway. Then suddenly, for some inexplicable reason, Thorol decided to take out the golden skull and insert the 4 elemental gems into the sockets on it. This is not an embellishment or exaggeration on my part. I remember that game session very well, even though it occurred several years ago. Just out of the blue, Thorol's player announced that he was bringing out the golden skull and fully assembling it. As soon as he did so, a clap of thunder echoed from down the corridor. As it died away, the characters could hear shuffling footsteps, along with the tapping of a walking staff. Then, out of the darkness, an old man appeared. He stopped at the edge of the pit and looked down at the characters. His eyes settled upon Thorol, and in a gentle yet vaguely menacing voice, he said that the skull was a dangerous artifact of evil. Far too dangerous for the characters to handle, and that it would be best if Thorol gave it to him for safekeeping. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the demonic demigod Ayus, one of the forms he can take is that of an old man with a walking stick, which is exactly what stood in front of the characters now. According to the module, Ayus cannot force a character to give him the golden skull, but he can use his supernatural powers to persuade the holder to voluntarily hand it over to him. And thus, Thorol had to make a saving throw to resist the Demon Lord's request. He failed spectacularly, as you can see by the 1 he rolled pointed out here. So Thorol walked to the edge of the pit and offered up the golden skull to the old man, who crouched down to accept it. But at the last moment, Obrak lunged over and knocked the golden skull from Thorol's grasp, causing it to fall to the ground. Suddenly, there was a second clap of thunder and a flash of light. Now standing next to the old man was another figure, a stern-looking middle-aged man carrying a wooden club and dressed in plate mail. He had flowing white hair, a drooping white mustache, and wore a hat similar to a tam o'shanter. Niobe instantly recognized him as her deity, St. Cuthbert himself. The two deities glared at each other for a moment, and then both of them disappeared in a final flash of light and clap of thunder, which slowly echoed away. If you look at these text blocks from the module, it explains why things happen this way. It says, characters' actions may result in the appearance of the demigod Ayus, the lesser god St. Cuthbert, or both. Should Ayus be attracted or summoned by the characters, Cuthbert will probably 90% chance arrive. If Cuthbert does appear, he and Ayus will vanish together in a puff of smoke and a thunderclap, as they will not discuss or settle their differences in the presence of their followers or other mortals. At any rate, Obrak quickly scooped up the golden skull before Thorol could recover it himself. Obrak said that he would now carry the golden skull, but first he removed the elemental gems from the sockets. He then distributed the gems among other party members so that no single character could assemble the skull again. The characters then followed the passage that Ayus had come from, since it was the last unexplored area of Dungeon Level 3. The passage led to a flight of stairs going down to Dungeon Level 4. At the foot of the stairs, the characters were almost immediately attacked by a pair of troll sentries. Aramis waded in and scored a critical hit in the first combat round. Continuing to advance, the characters were forced to fight additional troll reinforcements. This battle went much quicker now that Elmo was there to help. As was now standard procedure, the characters set the dead trolls on fire to prevent them from regenerating. Ducking down a side corridor, the characters found a series of deserted rooms. This one appeared to be a conference room for the high-level temple leaders. Hanging on the wall was a huge map of the region showing the location of various temple spies and other useful information. Thorol pulled the map down, folded it up, and stowed it in his backpack. Continuing north, the characters arrived at what appeared to be a huge worship chamber. However, the space was dark, with no ceremonies currently taking place. Taking the lead, Varys could see a massive stone altar on a raised platform. On it were engravings representing the four elements, and behind it hung a large purple curtain. But drawing the character's immediate attention were several ogres moving in to attack. The characters decided to rush in as a group and get to the altar before the ogres could close with them. Unsure of what to do, Aramis tried placing the elemental gem he was carrying on the corresponding altar symbol. A bolt of lightning shot out, hitting both him and Thorol, so he quickly removed the gem. But one benefit was that it caused the ogres to temporarily halt their advance. Finally overcoming their fear, the ogres closed in on the characters and prepared to attack. But it was at this point that Istan now ran out from behind the purple curtain, calling to the characters. You will recall from the earliest episodes that Istan was the character's main rival until he was finally captured by them. However, he escaped imprisonment and fled here to join the temple. But when confronted by the sheer evil of this place, Istan had a change of heart. And when the characters were captured by the temple's forces, it was Istan who secretly helped them to escape. Istan left a note for the characters, saying that he was staying behind at the temple and would pretend to still be serving it. However, when the characters arrived for the final battle against the temple's leaders, Istan wrote that he would openly switch sides and join them. And now that moment had finally arrived. Istan told the characters that the temple's leaders were all waiting behind the curtain, preparing to do battle with them if they managed to defeat the monsters standing guard out here. Istan also told the characters that they needed to destroy the elemental gems before going any further. And the way to do that was to cast each one of them into their corresponding elemental portal. The portals themselves were located down hallways along the eastern side of this chamber. Following Istan's directions, the characters moved to the southeast, which he said would lead to the elemental earth portal. An unexpected benefit of Istan's appearance was that the ogres had backed off again. They knew that Istan was a trusted temple officer, and although they could not understand what he was saying, they could see that he was speaking to the characters and that they were not attacking him. So, for the moment at least, the ogres were unsure of what to do. Unfortunately, the elemental hallway was guarded as well, and the monsters inside had orders to defend at all costs. So, the characters would have to fight their way to reach the elemental earth portal. In this screenshot, Aramis is advancing to battle a hill giant. Luckily for the characters, the hill giant rolled a fumble and hit himself, contributing to his own demise. Next up was a troll that had to be defeated. Elmo stood guard back in the hall's entrance and was forced to fight an Etten, which had arrived and joined the battle. Aramis ran back to help him defeat it. After defeating the troll and setting it on fire, the characters finally arrived at the elemental earth portal. However, they saw that it was guarded by 4 bugbears. Garrett was carrying the elemental earth gem, and he simply used his high dex ability score to toss it over the bugbears' heads and into the portal. The portal suddenly exploded into a fireball, and the entire hallway began to crumble and collapse. The characters turned and made a run for it, but the bugbears could not get out in time. Pieces of the hallway's roof dropped down and crushed them. Being a dwarf, Obrak could not run as fast as the others, and he fell behind. As the hallway began collapsing just behind Obrak, the Etten was still blocking the way out. Obrak tried to attack, but rolled a fumble. He tripped and fell to the ground and was in danger of being crushed by the collapsing tunnel. Meanwhile, Aramis and Varys finally did defeat the Etten. Aramis and Varys each grabbed Obrak by an arm and dragged him out of the hallway just before it collapsed on all of them. Meanwhile, the ogres finally realized that the characters were not friendly after all and began closing in on the party. However, the nearest ogres blocking the way were soon defeated, clearing the path to the next elemental hallway. Alright, well that's all for now. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. If you can, leave a comment and let me know what you think. If you have not yet, please subscribe to the channel. If you know a good place, please share the video. And anything you do to help support the channel, I appreciate it. Thanks again. Bye for now.